Tom Lane is the superintendent of the Carlisle Community Schools, and I believe that you have a kind of interesting organizational setup for your schools in Carlisle. That is the pre-K program. Would you like to tell us about that, please?
Well, I would. Thank you again. I appreciate this opportunity. I have a vast background in education. I started out as a social studies teacher and coach from the junior high through the high school level. I coached Little League children for 20 years. Was a K-12 guidance counselor and at-risk coordinator. I've worked with special education students as well as TAG students. I've served as an elementary principal and as a secondary principal, and in the middle of my 8th year as a superintendent of schools. He talked about me getting my doctorate. I'm sorry, it was from Drake rather than Iowa State. But I tend to be somewhat of a qualitative researcher.
Well, we'll have words with our staff.
There you go. I tend to be somewhat of a qualitative researcher. We listened to a wonderful story right here, and I think she did a great job of illustrating the impact experiences have on people as compared to just looking at numbers. I like to listen to kids' stories, and I like to listen to parents' stories, and I do recognize and appreciate the effort you all go through in trying to have a balanced budget. I go through that every year myself, so I'm very appreciative of the work that you folks do. In a little bit, I'm going to hand out a one-page document to you that I think will help take you through some quantitative data that we have from our preschool experience. But I think in the interest of time, I'd just like to read a couple things to you to tell you what, as you said, is kind of the Carlisle story for preschool. In the spring of 2007, our district made the decision to begin offering a quality preschool experience for the fall of 2007. For years, we had been partnering with a woman in town who ran the only preschool program in our district. She was approaching 70 years of age and yearly expressed a desire to retire. At this time, it appeared the potential for a state-sponsored program was very good. We understood that in order to be a good candidate for funding, we needed to build and maintain the relationships necessary to transition our district and our community into something that would be truly meaningful for our children. We did those things. Our application was excellent, and we were awarded funding for the 2007-08 school year. 84 children started attending our program. But our story runs deeper. Had we not been funded, we were still going to start a school-sponsored preschool. We advertised this to our parents, and here's what we found. At this time, we were serving 7 identified special needs children. These children were served every single day. 30 additional regular ed children came to us half days, and their parents paid us $90 a month. 15 children came in the mornings and another 15 in the afternoon. Each group came 4 days each week and received 2 hours and 15 minutes of instruction daily in what's called a reverse integration program. After advertising and registering children for our new expanded preschool offering, we had 50 families express interest in paying $110 a month. We built our program with 2 teachers serving 4 special needs children each, and then each teacher serving an additional 25 children split evenly between mornings and afternoons. We believe the special education funding and the $49,500 collected in tuition would still not allow us to cash flow our program, but at that time a healthy cash reserve and the hope for state support spurred our decision. In truth, we had little choice. Our only preschool program in the district was ready to fold. Today, there are still no certified programs in our district. The nearest Head Start programs are in Des Moines and Indianola. Carlisle is the definition of a bedroom community. Nearly everyone leaves town to work somewhere else. Childcare and transportation for children is a huge issue. In order to improve our student achievement, it was and remains a necessity to offer a quality school-sponsored preschool experience for our 4-year-olds. Had we proceeded without state funding in the 2007-08 school year, we'd have served 50 children instead of 76. 45% more children were able to attend because of state funding than might have otherwise been able to join us. Our school district falls well below the state average for free and reduced children. Simply providing a voucher for these children would not have solved our problem back in 2007, nor would it solve it for us now. Other issues I'd like to address quickly. Prior to 2007, the the date the current universal voluntary preschool began, vouchers were also available for low-income families. Only 19% of 4-year-olds in Iowa attended preschool prior to 2007. Today, that total has grown to 60%. Is there a desire to return to pre-2007 enrollments? Iowa college graduates carry some of the highest student debt load in the country. Many of these young graduates burdened with college debt and making car and home payments will not qualify for vouchers and will face the difficult choices of what they can afford and what they cannot. Preschool tuition may take a back seat to incur debt and food on a table. This lady did a wonderful job. What will happen in Iowa's rural counties? How will those small programs continue to exist? Will they be able to attract and retain a certified instructor? I sat in here for much of the public hearing the other night in the House, and I had one paragraph based on that experience. Studies have been quoted in efforts to validate both sides of this argument. Clearly, local data and information collected by our own Department of Education should be what we consider. A program in just the 4th year of existence needs more time to show value. At this time, I'd like to, Senator Beal.
We have a page here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Carlisle is a 3A school district. We serve about 1,970 students. Up until the economic turnaround here several years ago and the demise of one of our local builders, we were the fastest growing 3A school district in the state. Over the last 6 years, we've grown from about 1,250 students to that total of 1,970. I wanted to give you some of these numbers that I thought would be very helpful for you. In the fall of 2006, 46% of our kindergartners were at benchmark. In other words, they were proficient on the DIBELS testing. And if you're not familiar with DIBELS, it's a generally accepted standardized test for determining student proficiency in reading skills for our earliest learners. In the fall of 2007 was the year preschool started. 56% of our children were proficient, so a little bit better than the fall of 2006. By the fall of 2008, we jumped to 70%, 2009, 70%, and this most recent fall again at 68%. I hope you can see dramatic improvement in preparation for kindergarten for those children who've had a preschool experience. Looking further at the kindergarten data, in the fall of 2006, 34% of our kindergartners came to us with no preschool experience. In the fall of 2007, that had dropped to 24%. In the fall of 2008, down to 8%. 2009, 6%, and this most recent fall, 15% no preschool experience. But the numbers to the side of those in parentheses, I think, are what are most important. Of those 8% that had had no preschool experience in the fall of 2008, those children made up 30% of our children who were not proficient at the beginning of kindergarten. In the fall of 2009, the 6% with no preschool experience made up 38% of the children who weren't at benchmark as they entered kindergarten. And finally, this most recent fall, when 15% of the children who entered kindergarten had no preschool experience, they made up 48% of our children who were below benchmark. Finally, the number served in preschool, you can see this, the reason I talk about our growth, you can see how we've expanded. Prior to the state-sponsored preschool program in 2006-07, we served our children that had been identified with special education needs, and then brought that small group in that paid the $90 a month for a limited preschool experience. The following year, with state-sponsored preschool, we were able to expand that and serve 84 students. The following year, 110. Last year, 112, and this year, 115 students have a quality preschool experience in the Carlisle School District. Again, I'll finish by saying I understand you have tough decisions to make. We have tough decisions to make as a school district. this is something we would never, ever want to give up. Thank you.